So good morning. We're just a little bit early, but for those of you who do not know, on Thursday we're having our first fundraiser, and we're going to have Greg Tamblyn, who is a comedian and also, I believe, plays the guitar, and he's coming forward to share an hour of fun and aha moments, and this is a fundraiser. So what we've decided to do, where's Lesiel and Corey? I'm not sure I see them. They have helped plan a menu, and several of you have come forward and said, I can bring something, I can bring something. So we're going to have like a little cookout, and it's going to have burgers, and it's going to have kebabs, and I think they're going to do some other dishes as well as our folks bringing dishes. So keep in mind, there's first the barbecue, and that's dinner about 6-ish, and some of our board members are going to help us with that. And then at 7 begins Greg Tamblyn. And he's great, says Kimmin. So, and our own Greg Aiken is hosting him. So when you see our own Greg Aiken, who is very busy in tax season, give him a big high five and say thank you. Because every time you do something that helps us with guests, that keeps our costs down. And so this is a wonderful tribute, a wonderful time to explore and have fun and be with your closest Unity friends, right? So bring a friend, come, enjoy, put us to work, and let's have a little bit of fun. So I'm going to ask, this is Black History Month. So we're going to step back in time with a little bit of that. But right now, I want to introduce to you, through a video, one of the most famous change makers in the Unity movement. As a matter of fact, this was the 1950s when Johnny Coleman got the message that she was going to die within 6 months. So not unlike our co-founder, Myrtle Fillmore, who also got the message of a pending shortening of her life, Johnny Coleman said, I don't get it. I don't understand. And as she walked by a table in her mother's living room, off fell a little pamphlet called the Daily Word. And in the Daily Word, it said that you could not inherit dis-ease. And she said, what's this about, Mom? And Mom said, there's this place called the Association of Christianity in Lee Summit, Missouri, and there's a school there, and I think you should enroll. So Johnny Coleman did do that. And as she enrolled and spent some time on the campus, remember this is the 1950s. At that time, Lee Summit, Missouri was a sundown town. And what does that mean? It means if you were a person of color, you had to leave the campus grounds before the sun went down. It was the law of the land. Well, Johnny Coleman's in her car one day, and this big storm erupts, and the car gets flooded out, and she has to tromp across the campus in the mud, in the storm, and she shows up at the doors, and she goes, I'm not doing this anymore. Y'all said we're unity. Be unity. So it took a little bit of time, but the students gathered up behind her, started a petition, and said they were all going to drop out if Johnny Coleman could not be on that campus with them. Change makers. These are the change makers. You have an opportunity to be a change maker. What has been said, what has been done, you have an opportunity when that no longer serves us as a community in a vision, you have the opportunity to be a change maker. Now, Johnny Coleman did go on, finished and got her ordination. Not only did she get her ordination, she went back to Chicago and started one of the largest New Thought churches. 20,000 people. Was she a change maker? Yeah. Her Sunday service was 4,000 people. Now, it took some time. Johnny started at her Thanksgiving dinner table and started telling her friends about it, and they couldn't get her to shut up. So eventually, she created this beautiful church that is still standing today. And things in the Unity movement didn't always go smoothly. She became president of the Unity movement, and within a few years, she had an agenda that wasn't sitting well with everybody else, and she left the movement. But today, her church is still thriving. She's created a seminary school in Chicago, and this beautiful soul left us when she was 94 years old. So there's been a lot of beautiful work done through Unity to recognize people who were change makers, to recognize that there was a certain time and a certain place in which things were done according to certain people. And it's always the right time to do the right thing. So welcome over video Johnny Coleman.
I am a channel for God, created and brought on this earth for definite reasons. And I must do that in spite of what you think or what you believe or what you continue to say. I don't have to prove anything to anybody. Drive out to 119th Street, look for yourself. God did it through a channel called Johnny Coleman with your help and your support. I am so happy to have my children stand up here tonight and talk about consciousness. There was a time they were like everybody else. If I said consciousness, the world talked about me upside down. Now they're saying it. Everybody's got to say it because it is the truth. Consciousness is what we are. Consciousness is what I am. Consciousness means awareness. Whatever you are aware of, that's what you have in your life, in your world, and in your affairs. Change your thoughts and you change your world, because you are the thinker that thinks the thought that makes the thing. If you like what you hear, come back, because that's all you're going to hear up in here. I thank you so very much. I love you. We are celebrating 45 years in the ministry. Now let me tell you something, children. Look at me and listen. Age is none of my business. And don't come up here telling me nothing about how old you are. I don't care nothing about what you say. Age is none of my business. And don't talk about age to me, Henry Hardy. Okay? And none of the rest of you. If I listen at you, I won't be able to step in my car when I get out there, because I'll have everything old age is supposed to have. Barbara, I'm so glad you came from Atlanta yesterday and got here this morning. That's a real special blessing. God bless you and thank you so much. To all of you, thank you. May we turn within. I know some of these people, you know, that really know me. I do an hour and a half. Tonight I could have stayed all night. Because I liked what they were saying. And everything they said was true. May we turn within for our benediction, please. In the beginning is God. In the end is God. All in between is God. Everything there is God. In me, I am. God in me is evenly present everywhere. Just God. There is no fear in God. Wherever you are, God is. Wherever I am, God is. God bless you, everyone. And remember, I'm everybody's mama. All of you are my children. And when I speak to you, don't argue with your mama. Just do it. Thanks God for the greatest evening of the rest of my life. In the name of the Father, in the name of the Son, and in the name of the Holy Spirit, all is well. Go in peace. Amen. Amen and amen.
Isn't she amazing? You know, I don't know why. I was twice in Chicago this year, and I didn't manage to go to her church, and I don't even know why I didn't think about doing it, because it's still alive, active, and very, very well. So you saw the spirit within Johnny Coleman. She mentioned another beautiful spirit from the Atlanta area who has also made her transition. That was Dr. Barbara King. Now, Dr. Barbara King also was a New Thought thinker. What did Johnny say? I think the thoughts that make the difference. Thinking the thoughts are the things that are manifested. This is the power that we talk about in the New Thought age, the New Thought movement. It is our thoughts that we can change our mind at any time when there's something that isn't working for us. We have that power of choice. We have the dominion over the earth, and in unity, that earth is our thoughts, our words, what it is that is true for us that we want to create in our life. So this beautiful Dr. Barbara King made such an impression on the city of Atlanta that when you go through Hartsfield International Airport, there is a chapel named in her name. These powerful change makers, and coming from the South, and coming from a time that was still very difficult in the South, and they went beyond the difficulty. They heard their calling, they led people, they shared with people. Something that Johnny was saying on there, which I really loved, they called her church the Jewel Box. The Christ Universal Temple in Chicago, affectionately known as the Jewel Box. She founded the Universal Foundation for Better Living, the Johnny Coleman Academy, the Johnny Coleman Institute, and the Johnny Coleman Theological Seminary. Was this a woman on the move or what? She wasn't waiting for anybody, no how, no way. And I love, love, love. So her last part up there, and she said, I'm everybody's mama, so don't argue with your mama. Well, I want you to know as your minister, I am not your mama. You can argue with me, you can bring out good ideas, but I do not want to be responsible for you. I want you to take responsibility for your thoughts, for your actions, for the things you do here and the things you do not do here. When we ask you as a board, as leadership, come forward. We're looking for a few folks. Kind of like that, we're looking for a few fine folks. We're looking for some people to help us with our ushers, our ambassadors. Gloria Costanzas has done this for more than a decade, and she's ready to release it and become a prayer chaplain. Today, you'll see her as one of our prayer chaplains. So I know there's an individual, or there is a couple of people who want to come forward and say, I'm ready to serve, and I can do it in this capacity. Remember, it's kind of like in my old banking days. That teller on the front lines was often the very first person you saw in a bank, and that was a reflection in your very first meeting of everything that would ever come behind it. So you may or may not meet me as the minister the first time you come in here, but you're going to see that ambassador. You're going to see that greeter. Now, their role is not just to be, hi, how are you? That's a good role. That's a number one role. But they're also in charge of our safety. So they're kind of watching out for you. Where's everybody seated? If we had an emergency, can we get them out the doors fast enough? Look around the sanctuary. How many doors do we have? Look around the sanctuary. How many doors do you see? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's one behind the stages, but you can't see that one. So if you had to get out fast for any reason, know where you're going. And that's what the ushers help us do. If you were lightheaded and needed some help, our ushers, our ambassadors help with that as well. So safety is one of our concerns, but our biggest thing is to greet you. Don't you want to be said hi? Hello? Maybe you want to come sit with me today. Maybe this is all new to you. Maybe the things that woman up there is saying is a little strange. Let me talk to you about what unity is all about, because it's about self-responsibility. It's also about joy and giving and focusing our attention on what we want to grow. I had a lady this past week, and I'm grateful that somebody's paying attention to our electronic sign, but she saw our yoga message out there. We have a beautiful yoga following in here. We have a beautiful teacher. She starts in a chant and leads them through a beautiful series of exercises. This woman wrote to me and said, you know, yoga's of the devil. It's all evil. Now, I could have taken that all kinds of ways. Maybe defensive would not be the first line of action. So I said to her, we're a community of love and blessing, and we believe in the mind, body, and spirit. And yoga is one way to take care of our body and bring that connection of mind, body, and spirit. Well, that wasn't enough for her. She sent me a video. She wanted to make sure I knew how evil this yoga was. Well, I didn't look at the video. I just sent a message back to her. We love you. We bless you. You're welcome to be here. She wrote back, "You didn't look at the video." I said, "I focus on that which I want to grow in our community." And so far, I haven't heard back. If she shows up, you are welcome to be here. We are a loving community of acceptance, inclusion, one that you can be exactly who you are right now. We're not waiting for you to fix yourself because we don't believe you're broken. We're not waiting for you to be healed because we already see the wholeness within you. These are the principles that unity teaches. This is what Johnny Coleman shared in her own struggle of, am I whole? And then she preached it. And then she told everybody else, when you want to know for sure that you are whole, say the words, I am whole. I am whole. I am love. I am strength. I am courage. All these properties that we might call God exist in and through each one of us. And that's what we claim to be true. The Father and I are one. Now, some people look at me and say, ooh, that feels very blasphemous. They came from another teaching, a more fundamental teaching, that believed the words in the Bible were absolutely accurate and true. Didn't even have a conversation or a thought of possibly. There were different interpretations. How many different versions of the Bible are out there? Anybody know? I can't count, but I got 15 on my shelves. And they're all slightly different. So do you not think in the 1st and 2nd and 3rd century when they were putting together the good book that they might have done it for a specific time with a specific message? If you read the 4 Gospels, each one has a specific message catering to a specific community. And then we got Brother Paul in there. I didn't realize his writings are older than the Gospels. Did you guys know that? Did Brother Paul ever meet the man named Jesus? No. So he took second-hand stories, third-hand stories, and then he told us what his belief system was. Now, I believe today each and every one of us can have an experience with God. Each and every one of us can go through our dream state, our meditation, our prayers, and hear what God is telling us to do, be, and express. I think that is exactly what unity is teaching us. That we do have a Bible as our sort of background, and we don't have to throw the baby out with the bathwater, but no less are the beautiful teachings of Rumi, and for those who would look at it, the teachings of Buddha, the teachings in Judaism, in the Kabbalah. There is an underlying thread of how we can serve one another unselfishly, and that we can be a force for good, that we are already attached to the goodness of all the universe. You can call that God or spirit or creator, whatever it is in you that creates that richness of spirit that you are glad that you are here. Because I also believe every single person in this room was incarnated at this very time for a specific reason. It's up to you what that reason is. It's up to you to walk your path. When Johnny Coleman was having a difficult time with Unity Village, she had a dream, and that dream said, you are right where you are supposed to be right now. And she stayed in seminary because she could have gone anywhere. She could have done her work anywhere. So listen to those inner messages. Find that place of stillness where you can ask, what is mine to do? And when you feel that surge, don't be afraid of it. Stand in your own courage. Stand in your own fortitude. And know that you are exactly where you're meant to be. And for some of us, the change making might be huge. She probably affected 20,000 lives plus. Your change making might be just your inner circle. Maybe it's someone in a class. I know that our fall programs, and we've shared pretty deep, everyone has benefited. From that little group sprang our meetup group. Because one person in that group said, you know what? I want to tell more people about the events that we do here. I want to share in our like-mindedness. So just imagine, if you brought a friend with you in here, how we'd fill this place up. Do it on Thursday. Thursday's a great day to have fun, to have aha moments, and grab a shish kebab. I hear they're going to be vegetarian. So when we are creating what we want, and if life isn't working the way we want it to, what do we do? How do you change it? Pray is a good thing. So shift your mindset. There was a mindset in this country of sundown towns. That mindset has shifted. Now we know there's been some backsliding in certain areas, whether you call it a sundown town or not. And when that consciousness rises up for us to examine and look at more closely and say, how does this serve me? Then that is your invitation to be a change maker. That is your invitation to look at things differently. When Johnny's talking to us, and these are her words, who and what is God? She claimed, God is my father and he feeds me. God is my mother and soothes me, dries away my tears. God is my source, which means the origin of everything. Then she says, I really cannot describe God. And no one else can either. So I'm simply going to say, God is. God is. God is principled, definite, exact, unchanging. You may change. I hope we do evolve. I hope that we do enter a plane of a higher consciousness. She says, you may change, but God does not change. God is divine mind, the storehouse of all. God is creator, the maker of all that is on earth. God is law, the supreme rule of action. God is also love. God is truth that endures, is, and always will be the same. We hear the term God is omnipresent. Omnipresent means everywhere. But instead of it being a definitive term, what if it was a verb? What if it was omnipresence? We are in the presence of all-knowing. No place are we that God is not. Coming out of God and pressed out of God, Johnny Coleman says, I have the same character. I have the same nature. I am one with God. She says, not God and Johnny, just God as Johnny. So if I were to look at you, Hazel, and say God and Hazel, how about God as Hazel? How does that feel? Can you feel the shift? If I looked over at Patty, Patty, are you God and Patty? Or how are you as the expression of God as God? God in and through you, expressing as you. As you turn to your neighbor to the right or the left, and they see you, they're seeing the face of God. When it's your hands helping them change a tire, walk across the street, open a front door, they are seeing God in you, in activity, as you. Have you ever had a neighbor who needs a little bit of extra help? And especially during COVID. Maybe you went to the grocery store for them. Maybe you picked up the drugs at the drugstore for them. Maybe you just simply sat through a window pane and talked to them when we weren't able to see each other. How are you acting as God as you in and through you? This is the teaching for unity. You are created with a dominion over the earth and told to subdue it. I thought, oh, honey, what are you talking about? And then she said, man's earth is human consciousness. So think about it that way. Dominion over your own consciousness and told to subdue it. That's about disciplining your thoughts. You know, when your rattle keeps going and something has happened, something tragic, or you've watched the news, or you're just filled up with the nasty stuff, and you start building on it, and the what if, and the what if, and the what if. And she said, subdue that and bring God into that, because there is no place that God is not. There is no place that God is not. She said, stop letting things and people and situations and conditions have power over you. Ownership, responsibility. What is it that you are called to do? I love this. You are the thinker that thinks the thoughts that creates the things. Does that like a tongue twister? You are the thinker that thinks the thoughts that creates the things. Y'all do it with me. You are the thinker that thinks the thoughts that creates the things. I am the thinker that thinks the thoughts that creates the things. So from your mind, which I will say is divinely inspired by the God mind, that idea comes in and through you. And if you just sit there and pray about it, what happens? Nothing. That was a nice thought. But if you want it to be out there manifested in the world, you're going to have to give it some feet. When I talk about, let's do a fundraiser, and it just sits there. Well, let me call somebody I know who likes to cook. Let me call a few people that don't mind setting up tables and chairs. All of a sudden, now we're moving into action. What part of this can you do? What little part can you do? Oh, Reverend Tracey, I don't want to have to come every single Sunday. I see my grandkids on the second Sunday of the month. Well, okay. Just organize the ushers. I'll do the training. And you set it up. Oh, Reverend Tracey, you know, they're so busy back there in the AV booth. I don't really know anything about that. They didn't know anything about it either till they tried it. Step outside your comfort box. Make a commitment. See where you could serve our community. Seems like there's at least one more thing to do around here. At least one more thing to do around here. And I know the right and perfect people are here. You know, beautifully, if you haven't heard, we raised all the money in 2 weeks that we needed for the tent outside for the children. That was $1,400, and there's probably some change. If you can do that in 2 weeks, I know we can pay off that new building because you already have the power to do it. And if you don't have the finances to do it right this instant, well, then I have a beautiful lady who came to me, and she says, I've got 3 honeybee hives, and I'd like to bring some honey to you. And y'all still here, I'm still struggling with the voice. Honey, that is the sweetest honey I have ever put in my mouth. I don't know if it's clover honey. I don't know what kind of honey, but it's right down the street. I said, why don't you bring some of that honey in here and we'll sell it? And that'll be something we can help make and raise money. Now, what does honey do in the local area? It helps build your immune system. Yeah? So the more honey we have, I'm going to say the healthier we're going to be. So that is a little instant. Then she said, I got to show you something. So she brought this big van and laid out the van, and there was all this different kind of jewelry in the van. And I said, well, we're not really kind of that person. But I'll give you a Sunday. And everything you sell, you decide how much you want to give back to the church. Do you see how this works? If you don't have the cash in your hand, what idea do you have to make this happen? And all you have to do is bring 10 of your closest friends with ideas too. Louie, look how we're going to explode out the walls. Look how we're going to create greatness in here. More teachings, more teachers, fun events, the things that call to our own heart space. That's how we build community. But you can't do it with just a minister. You can't do it with just a board. You can't do it with just the leaders who are here right now. Because I know inside each person in here, there is an idea. There is a spark of an idea. And if you're a beautiful soul like Kim who said, oh, I don't want to be on the front line, she did it for 3 years. Not going to make you do it for 3 years. But she had this vision of what our prayer chaplain group could be. And she led it beautifully. Deepened her own prayer practice, encouraged others to do the same, visited with people who are no longer coming to the church for different reasons, have gone outside and visited people in care centers. She's not asked to do that as a chaplain. She did it in her own heart space. We all have the capacity to expand. You just may not know what that means yet. And this is a beautiful place to explore it.